And what is going on, everybody? The Jaguars get swept by the Houston Texans. The Jaguars dropped to 2-10 on the season. We'll go ahead and recap it, but first, big shout out to this video's sponsor, BetUS. The Jaguars were actually 3-point favorites when I checked this morning on this game, and the Jaguars lost by 3, so it's an even split on BetUS. We'll see how the Jaguars finish up. We have 5 games left against 5 teams with losing records. The Jaguars had their one overall pick. So hopefully the Jaguars can hold on to that. But with all that said, if you guys are interested in betting on any Jaguar spreads or even, hey, the conference championships in college football are coming here soon. If you guys are interested in getting in on all that, BetUS has an awesome promo code for you. YouTube 150 is going to get you a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third, up to 2,000. They got 24/7 customer support, quick 24-hour payouts. Shout out to them for the sponsoring this video, and I'm going to play my live reaction on Bleacher Report earlier. Now, this game was a crazy one. Now, first of all, like I said, the Houston Texans, they won 23-20. So the Houston Texans will improve their record to 8-5 as the Jaguars deplete to 2-10. Okay, and now the Jaguars are officially eliminated from the 2024 and 2025 postseason. So the season's done. The season, I know a lot of us said the season's over a long time ago, whether it was when we went, 0-4, whether it was when the Jaguars went 1-5. But no matter how you split it now, the season is officially over. The best the Jaguars can do is go 7-10. According to my notes, 7-10 is not very good. Okay, not very good. Shad Khan has another double-digit loss season. This is something that he's pretty much known for. I think only 3 of his seasons as an owner have the Jaguars not finished with double-digit losses. It just hasn't been a very good Jacksonville organization with him at the helm. But nevertheless, the Jaguars dropped this one, and we all know the story of this game was Trevor Lawrence. Okay, Trevor Lawrence took as big of a cheap shot as you can take in a game. Okay. Trevor Lawrence from number 0. I don't know how to say his name, but he's a defensive back. Just basically came at him when Trevor Lawrence was on a clear slide, 5 yards away, and the guy comes and hits him, basically puts his forearm into his jaw, and Trevor Lawrence was very concussed. And he was showing, even after the hit, when it comes to the way his arms kind of went, very clear signs of that he was concussed and that he was hurt. And it's very, very unfortunate. And that's part, like, a lot of times we say that injury is a part of the NFL, and that's unfortunate. But this is something that shouldn't have even happened. This is something that was extremely avoidable. It was a huge cheap shot. I don't know if he knew Trevor Lawrence was hurt, so he was trying to re-injure him. I don't know if it was just frustrations being taken out, but no matter what the reason was for it, there's no reason for it. And he got ejected. Jarian Jones also got ejected. I mean, after that hit, it was all fighting, man. I mean, Evan Ingram, the closest guy to Trevor Lawrence, came at the dude and held him down. And even afterwards, a little bit later, Brian Thomas Jr. and Brandon Sheriff came after him. Jarian Jones got ejected. Fox didn't have any replays of what Jarian Jones did, but I imagine he threw a punch maybe against, a player that wasn't involved at all. But it was not good, man. It was a not good. And Trevor Lawrence, we'll see if he plays again this year. Of course, this is his first game after being out a couple games with having the non-throwing shoulder injury. He came back this one, and if I would have known that he wouldn't finish this game, I would have thought it had something to do with the shoulder, but unfortunately it was a cheap shot, and concussions are not a good thing. This is now Trevor's second concussion in 2 years, and I guess second concussion in 11 months. He suffered a concussion last year, and I believe it was a Sunday night football game against the Ravens, and he suffered another one. So you don't like it when these things start stacking up, because these have a lot of long-term, effects, that we've learned when it comes to how NFL players have turned into these guys that have CTE. And It's just not fun. It's not fun. So hopefully a speedy recovery for Trevor Lawrence. I would not mind sitting him the rest of the year. And I even came into this game, into the season after he got hurt, saying, hey, we may not be mathematically eliminated, but we are pretty much done. We should sit Trevor Lawrence the rest of the year. And now we literally are mathematically eliminated. The Jaguars should sit Trevor Lawrence the rest of the year, no matter what happens. I mean, these games are worthless, and there's no reason to go out here and put your franchise at risk on this. And it's unfortunate because even before this, Trevor Lawrence was not having a very good game. 4 of 10 passing for only 41 yards, and he had himself an interception too. But I know a lot of times with Trevor Lawrence, I think his issue has been like, he's good for a half and not good the other half. And honestly, I would have expected him to probably have a decent second half. I mean, the Jaguars only lost this game by 3. Mac Jones by the numbers was pretty good, but man, even some of his best throws were like wildly overthrown. And Parker Washington had to make a really good, catch on a couple of them to come down with it. At least Mac Jones, of the last 3 games, this was his best game, though. But, with all that said, hopefully a speedy recovery to Trevor Lawrence, and just please, Jaguars, don't put him back in the game. Don't make him play again. Shout out the Ram first. He said 0 retribution, no heart in this team, and it starts with the head coach hugging Ryans at the end. Yeah, and that's another thing with this game, or with this team, is that now the Jaguars have 5 games left just in the season. And I know, we're in this whole dilemma at this point where, do you want the Jaguars to win the game or lose the game? I know me going to this game, I said, you know what? I want the Jaguars to go 1-5. I want the Jaguars 1 win to come against the Houston Texans. And the Jaguars obviously lost against the Texans this game. But I'm all about playing for draft capital at this point. I'm in draft mode, and if that doesn't jive with you, that's fine. I'm kind of sound like a broken record at this point in the season. When your team is 2-10, I don't blame you for what kind of fan you become. If you want to cheer for your team to win every game, that's cool. Go ahead and do it. If you want to cheer for your team to lose every game to get the better draft pick, that's cool. Do it. If you don't want to watch games anymore, you don't need to do it, man. It's not a good product to watch. It's not a product that is worth watching. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, I'm in the boat of I want the Jaguars to lose the rest of the games, especially when you look in the upcoming weeks. The Jaguars have a game against the Raiders. The Jaguars and Raiders each have 2 wins. Dream scenario for me is that the Jaguars end up with pick number 1, and then the Giants and Raiders in some form or fashion have picks number 2 and 3, because there's a very good chance that the Jaguars, the Raiders and Giants each might have a top quarterback, and they want to do their best to move ahead with each other to be able to get that quarterback. And, the Jaguars could very well end up with moving from number 1 to number 3 overall and still get the best non-quarterback in this draft, which looks to be Travis Hunter. Hopefully we have a new GM and head coach. Give those guys more draft ammunition to be able to build the product that they want. And the Jaguars move. We can attack it from there. You look at how the Detroit Lions did it, getting all those picks from Matthew Stafford. They nailed their picks, and they are, what are they, 10-1, 11-1 right now. They are a good football team. That's the path I would like the Jags to potentially take. So that's me. I'm kind of in tank mode, which can be tough, especially when you have 3 games left against division opponents. I know if everything's neutral, like everybody, or if you throw records away and you throw who the best team in the AFC South is away, the Jaguars, as Jaguar fans, your probably most hated rival is the Tennessee Titans, and the Jaguars still have 2 games left against the Tennessee Titans. And I might be sitting there watching the Jaguars hopefully lose against them, because I'm thinking about 2025 and beyond, and I want to get the number 1 overall pick, and I want to be able to say, hey, the Jaguars GM and head coach job is open. We have an owner that's willing to spend money. We have a guy who many believe will be a great franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. We have a wide receiver 1. We have edge rushers like Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker. We have a good cornerback in Tyson Campbell. And on top of that, we have the number 1 overall pick too, because when you're trying to showcase this job, you want as many good things as possible. And hey, guess what? The number 1 overall pick is better than the number 2 overall pick. The number 1 overall pick is better than the number 3 overall pick, okay? So whatever we can do to make this job more attractive is what I want to do. And I know the Jaguars did re-sign Walker Little earlier this morning, and it's a 3-year deal, and it's actually a pretty good deal. I like the deal that they signed him for. It wasn't, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's about average money, okay? And with this, I like the move because now the Jaguars aren't forced to overpay for left tackle in free agency because, of course, coming into this year, both left tackle Cam Robinson and left tackle Walker Little are playing on contract years. And obviously, we just traded away Cam Robinson a couple of weeks ago to the Minnesota Vikings. So it was just Walker Little left. And now you got him signed. And now you don't have to overpay for somebody in free agency because really, what great left tackle is going to become available? And now you're not you're not pigeonholed into drafting a left tackle with the first of your 3 picks or whatever. Now you can just kind of you have a lot more flexibility. We'll just say that. We'll say that. But with all that said, look, we've been rambling about this. Let's go ahead and talk about this game. Because look, when you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, you don't really talk about what just happened. You want to talk about how to get better next year. And if the Jaguars win out, we go 7-10. That's not doing anybody any good, okay? Imagine that's the worst case scenario for me. The Jaguars win out, you go 7-10, and you have the number 13 overall pick in the NFL draft. That is one of the worst case scenarios possible because in your no man's land, you don't have a great draft pick. You can't get an elite player. Just lose games. So when you look at this, Trevor Lawrence, before he got hurt, 4 of 10, 41 yards, 4.1 yards per pass, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. And yeah, this Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing very good. We'll be honest. He missed a few throws. Of course, he is coming back from injury. He's a little bit rusty, but call for how you see it. Trevor Lawrence wasn't great, and I really wish he could have had at least a half to redeem himself. But, I almost wonder if Trevor Lawrence stays playing, do they potentially beat the Texans? Is that good for the Jaguars to get a win against the Texans? I mean, it would ruin the Texans, especially with, the Colts winning a game, but I don't know if that's going to be good long term. You know what I mean? But Mac Jones, 20 of 32 passing, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Started off a little shaky, but he was better this game. Look, he was awful against the Vikings. He was awful against the Detroit Lions. Didn't even drive the ball into the red zone against the Detroit Lions a couple of weeks ago, but actually got a couple touchdown passes. I don't know how much of that it seemed like Texans were playing a little bit of prevent, but you got to give him credit for what he does. He just very erratic on his throws. Had a couple of receivers, Parker Washington mainly had to make some acrobatic catches, especially on his touchdown. But we look at the receiving game. Shout out to Parker Washington, his first game over 100 receiving yards, 6 receptions, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. I even thought he was very close to getting that long ball that was challenged in. And ultimately, the play stood where it was an incompletion. But I could see how it was incomplete. The ball was kind of out. You didn't have a great angle on it. Brian Thomas Jr., 4 receptions for 76 yards on 10 targets. He had himself a touchdown as well. So Brian Thomas Jr., look, when you look at the rest of the season, what are we playing for? I want to give, Brian Thomas Jr., I want to pad his stats, okay? I want to pad his stats as much as I can. That's one of the few things I really want going forward. Ingram, 7 receptions for 41 yards. He was also the first guy to make contact with number 0 on the Texans to avenge Trevor Lawrence, I guess we should say. And yeah, that was a crazy moment, man. The sidelines cleared. It was dirty. It was very dirty. Devin Duvernay, 2 receptions for 23 yards. Britton Strange, 1 catch for 14 yards. When you look at the rushing game, Travis Etienne, 13 carries for 46 yards. Bigsby, 7 carries for 28 yards. The run game never really got going, except for Mac Jones's first drive in there after Trevor got hurt. I mean, we were kind of running it down their throats. Unfortunately, didn't get a touchdown, but got the field goal off of it. But run game never really got going. So when you look at that, well, Mitch Morse is actually credited with a fumble. Mitch Morse had a bad snap to Mac Jones, but Mac Jones fell on it. I don't know why they called that a fumble on him. But defensively, Do want to give a big shout out to Trayvon Walker. He had himself a sack, a really nice sack. Trayvon Walker, and that sack was on the Texans' first drive, and it put him out of field goal range. So Trayvon Walker continuing to have a good year. If you look at his stats, 7.5 sacks this season. We'll see if we can get him to double-digit sacks. It feels like he has more sacks than that, but I don't know if his profile has updated yet on this site. But 7.5 sacks is what they say he has. Also, Josh Hines Allen had himself a sack. So 2 total sacks for the Jaguars. Also, Mason Smith finally active. Mason Smith was a Jaguar second round pick out of LSU that they just been. He was like a healthy scratch for a while, and then the Jaguars put him on an injury sheet with an ankle. He finally played. Only showed up on a stat sheet with 1 tackle. Okay, Ram first said 8.5 sacks. Okay, yeah, I didn't think this site updated. So, yeah, he's a second. Trayvon Walker is a sack and a half away from double-digit sacks, and hopefully he gets it. Josh Hines Allen on the season, 6 sacks, so a step back from last year, but he is getting pressures. He's doing fine. It's just again, the Jaguars don't have anything in the middle of the field. Like Eric Armstead is out there. I don't know what he's doing. Sometimes he's just like it's like he's just trying to play tag with running backs. I don't know. He's hasn't been good. Devon Hamilton, he actually made a couple good plays this game, but he's been absent. It feels like this entire season. Of course, Mason Smith, healthy scratch. It's been a weird situation there. Darnell Savage led the team in tackles, 7 tackles, but the safety play continues to be pretty bad. Ronald Darby was able to bail. I think it was Cisco out. I forget who blew the coverage, but Ronald Darby assisted and basically got a PBU off of his helmet. So, again, safety play has been pretty horrible this year. Cam Little kicking 2 for 3. He actually missed a 55-yarder, which Cam Little has been a pretty good rookie for us, but would like to see him make those 50-plus yarders. And ultimately, Jaguars lost by 3. So who knows if how much that really affected the game. Logan Cook, again, pretty busy this game. There was I think 6 total possessions in the first quarter. It was crazy the amount of times the ball was moving around. So CJ Stroud, 22 for 34, 242 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I didn't think it was too impressive of a game from CJ Stroud. It was just we had so many blown coverages. There was guys falling, but he did enough to get the job done. So credit to him. Joe Mixon, 20 carries for 101 yards, 5 yards per carry. Also 1 touchdown for him. So definitely a get-right game for, the Texans. And, Texans have had an issue scoring points in the second half this year, and 17 points for the Texans in the second half. And at one point, they were pretty much killing the Jags before the Jaguars scored 14 unanswered. At one point, the Texans were up 23-6, but the Jaguars were able to score back, make it a little bit tight. Nico Collins took off on us, 8 receptions for 119 yards. It felt like he was open all day on the Jaguars' 50-yard line. He just kept kind of appearing there. But yeah, other than that, Dalton Schultz, 5 receptions for 61 yards. Everybody else is pretty quiet. Tank Dell, 1 catch for 23 yards. When you go into team stats, time possession pretty similar. Texans 32 to 28. 20 first downs for the Texans versus the Jaguars 19. And yeah, honestly, a lot of these total yards, Texans 326, Jaguars 373. A lot of these are close, but the game had a weird game flow because, of course, the Texans were winning 23-6. So it almost felt like they were going into prevent and almost felt like the Jaguars were playing garbage time football. And all of a sudden the Jaguars score a touchdown. It's like, man, Jaguars are only down 23-20, and they have a chance to actually stop the Texans. But the Texans, of course, ran it out. They were able to go into victory formation, and that was all she wrote. So I do like to go ahead and get a look at what Twitter is saying. So let's take a look over here. Joe Cowart from 1010. Last Thanksgiving weekend, Jaguars beat the Texans, sat in first place in the AFC South. Since then, Duval has lost 15 out of 18 games, and Houston just won at the bank 9th time in last 10 trips. Dude, yeah. Jaguars haven't beat the Texans in Jacksonville since 2017. This is almost getting to a Colts in Jacksonville streak, man. It's not good. You got to defend your home stadium. With the Jaguars now at 10 losses and the Texans having 8 wins, Trevor Lawrence should not only heal from the concussion, but also take the time to fully recover the shoulder, whether that entails surgery or not. And I'm right there with them. And this is what we all said. The Jaguars have officially been eliminated from the 2024 to 25 postseason. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence is being carted off the field with a head injury, and that's why you don't let a lame duck coach on his way out and make decisions for your quarterback of the future. Same could be said for your GM on his way out, making deals for your future GM. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Fire Doug Press and Trent and everybody now. And look, if the Jaguars didn't fire Doug Peterson 2 weeks ago after the Jaguars' worst loss in franchise history, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen tomorrow. This might just be an end of the season type of thing. All of Duval County going to be sitting outside the stadium waiting for Al-Shaair to walk out, if that is how you say his name. Texans and Jaguars having a full brawl. Trevor Lawrence with not a single teammate checking on him. If the Jaguars extension of Walker Little sends the message that Trent Baalke is safe, that's a bad way for the Jaguars to start their day. And I don't think it is. I think he's safe, but and here's a little bit of a look from Britt Martineau from the Jaguars media. This is just post game. I thought this was the brawl. So to recap what Al-Shaair has done this year, punched Roschon Johnson, delivered the dirtiest hit of the year on T-Law. After getting ejected, continued to look for a fight. This man doesn't want to play football. He just wants to fight people. Kick him out of the NFL. Which, look, I don't know what his penalty is going to be, but usually the NFL doesn't suspend players for stuff like this. But, he needs the max fine. He needs to be suspended at least a game or two. And I think there's something else. He needs to do some kind of community service because, look, these are just write-offs for them. These guys have so much money. Like, he needs to do something extra, man, because that should not be tolerated in the NFL, and that's a terrible look for the Shield. With today's loss, the Jaguars are now 62 and 145 since the start of the 2012 season. They have lost 70% of the last 207 regular season games they have played. And look, guys, I can take the pain. I can take the pain as a Jaguar fan, but March 2025, I have a baby boy Jaguar fan coming into my life. You guys got 5 years to clean this up for my son, okay? Because I can take the pain. I don't want to put my child through what we've been through since 2012, okay? I'm putting that on record right now. Yeah, and here's a little bit of the draw of the... Anyone wondering if Trevor Lawrence is still a leader of the Jaguars? The team is still pissed, yeah. Yeah, that was most passion I've seen from the Jaguars in quite some time. But yeah, that's... I don't even like that totally put a damper on this game for me. I was totally not in the mood to even watch the rest of this game. D'Amico Ryan's quote, "That is not representative of us. You really name Azeez Al-Shaair a captain. You kept him as captain after he punched Roschon Johnson. This is 100% representative of you." It's a good post. It's a good post. Jaguars are 2-10, not one unsportsmanlike or late hit penalty after the Trevor injury. Defense goes on to give 17 points in the second half. Can't get the ball back. Yeah. We'll see if there's anything new being said about our Jaguars. The Jaguars lost and the Chargers won. Broncos win tonight will officially eliminate the Jags. I think we've already been eliminated. So all the same is being said. What a shot of Corey Perrine of Jax.com. And moving forward, Trevor between Azeez Al-Shaair and Trevor Lawrence on Sunday. Just hope he's okay, man. That's a brutal hit he took, and unfortunately shouldn't be a part of the game. Should have never happened. So with all that said, yeah, the Jaguars are 2-10 right now. If we look at the Jaguars' upcoming schedule, a little bit of a cupcake, unfortunately. But of course, the Jaguars are not a good team. They have 2 games against the Titans, which right now the Titans are 3-9. So if the Jaguars beat them, I don't know where that puts us in the tankathon. Of course, they also have the New York Jets. The Jets are also not a good team. They are 3-9. The Jaguars also have the Raiders. The Raiders have the same record as the Jaguars, 2-10. So I know a lot of us are in the same boat as me. We want to tank. The Colts are like a decent team, and they're playing better with Anthony Richardson. They're 6-7, but I don't even know if they're a good team, to be honest. So yeah, the Jaguars, we're number one on Tankathon right now. The season ended today. The Jaguars had the number one overall pick, and they also have tiebreakers because of strength of schedule. But I don't know. I don't know. This will be. I'll be rooting for the Jaguars to lose, and they won't have Trevor Lawrence, so the chances are up that they will. But I think the big game to look at is the Raiders game. If we split with the Titans, everything is even because they have one win above. I think that they have one win to play around with. They can get one win and still get the number one overall pick. But if they go 2-4, I don't know what that'll do for us. Especially the Jaguars are tied with the Giants and Raiders with each with 2 wins. So, and the head to head with the Raiders going to be tough. Ransford says, dude needs to be suspended for the rest of the year. Send a message that kind of play will not be tolerated. That could have been a career ender. Yeah, and look, it's unprecedented. I don't think the NFL does those kind of things, but it needs to be seriously investigated because stuff like that shouldn't happen. And honestly, stuff like that doesn't happen. There's not a lot of stuff like that, but all it takes is one jerk of a player, and this guy's a rookie, and he's obviously had a little bit of a history with it. So, yeah, something definitely needs to be done. But all right, guys, I appreciate everybody for being here. Big shout out to Bleacher Report for letting me come on here and give you guys a reaction to this game here. Jaguars dropped to 2-10. Jaguars are not a good football team. Trevor Lawrence is now very concussed, and just 5 games left until we can put a bow on this 2024 season, and hopefully a lot of change happens with the head coach and GM, and then we can maybe sit here in January with the number one overall pick in the middle of a head coaching search and GM search, and then the light will be there. The light at the end of the tunnel is there, and we can move on and figure out how to get better in 2025 and beyond, and how to make this team all of a sudden make your generational quarterback look like a generational quarterback. So big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. It's not a good season right now. It's not a good season, but they're going to have you guys covered over there. Please, guys, on your way out, drop a like for me, and go Jags.